down and say the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand.
George, move out of the way. Gotta get that.
It has been in place ever since. Some people here might have been in the first class, I'm not sure, or the second class. If you were, could you raise your hand? Thank you. We're honored today to have Lieutenant Commander Wilson with us and Senior Field Chief Field, excuse me. They have been so wonderful to us in planning this and cooperating with us and bringing in their cadets, and we are very grateful. And I think Lieutenant Commander Wilson would like to say a few words.
Good morning. Good morning. We appreciate you all being here, and we're happy to participate. We're glad that you included us. So my hat's off to you. So thank you all. This is my third year here at Kecoughtan High School as a senior naval science instructor. I've been trying to get here for years. I worked in Newport News for about 11 years, so I'm loving it. This is a great place. I'm sure it was fantastic back when you all were here. And it remains to be a fantastic school. We are named the Junior ROTC, actually. These are high school cadets, and Senior Chief Fields is right over to my right. Senior, you can wave your hand. Had it not been for Senior Chief, I wouldn't be here. He's a great person to work with, and of course he did 20 plus years in the military. I think 22, I got it right. I finished up with 21. Have any of you served any time in the military? Would you raise your hand, please? All right. Well, we thank you. You may civil servant. So if that includes you, would you raise your hand? Great, thank you. I'll introduce the color guard momentarily. They'll be coming out here shortly, but I'd like to take the time to have the cadets just, I'll try and say their names and they can wave. So we have our admin officer, she's a senior, that's Cadet Trisha Cowell. Wave your hand again. Thank you. We have Cadet Marshall Smith with us. Raise your hand, Marshall Smith. He's hoping to go to Virginia military. Yeah! And if you notice on his right shoulder, he's wearing a silver aguilette. That means that he graduated our Leadership Academy. He actually finished that up this summer. So he graduated our Leadership Academy, and those were, we sent our superstars to Leadership Academy. All our superstars can't go for one reason or another, but he's one of those superstars that we were able to send, and he graduated successfully. So thank you, Marshall Smith. To his right, we have Cadet Lorenzo Thorne, who I can't see from here, but I'm sure he has, if he's not wearing it, a medal that he earned this summer. Are you wearing your Sail Academy? Well, he actually went to Sail Academy. We sent 2 students to Sail Academy, and I think it's the first time as for NJROTC Unit Kickingham that we've actually sent folks to learn how to sail. And not only did he learn how to sail, but he and his partner finished second, I believe, in the regatta. Is that right? The next 2 cadets are 2 elements of a set of triplets. So we have second-year cadets. We have Kaden Nolan and her sister Cameron Nolan. They are rising superstars as well. And to their right, we have Cadet Brittany Williams, who's going to take photos for us. I think I'm doing good so far on the name. Now, all the way back down here to their left, we have our commanding officer. You notice she had, that is Cadet Deja Williams. I call her Deja all the time. Cadet Deja Williams, raise your hand. You notice she has a silver aguilette on her right shoulder, so she has graduated Leadership Academy. But on her left shoulder, she, along with several other cadets, well, actually she's wearing the CO cord. So she's the commanding officer. To her left is Cadet Jasmine Gatman. She's second in charge. She's wearing the EXO cord. You already met Cadet Trisha Cowell, but on her left shoulder, she's wearing a green and white aguilette, but that signifies that she's part of the cadet staff. So she's one of our staff members. And then we have 2 more superstars who are part of the color guard that I didn't introduce yet, but we have now. All of a sudden, I'm drawing the blank. That's all right. Don't say anything. But we have Cadet Ames, Eric Ames. Did I get the first name right, Mr. Ames? Okay. All right. He's a rising superstar. You can tell by all his medals, his cords. He's a great cadet, and he's in his third junior. Wow. He was just a baby a little while ago. And now he's a rising junior, and he's our supply officer. To his right, we have our female supply officer, Cadet Julie Koo. She's a rising superstar, but she comes from a family that is full of leaders. Her sister was the previous commanding officer. She's off to, I believe, VCU to be a doctor. She's sitting in the back. If you raise your hand. And then her older brother was in the unit several years ago. That's Calvin Koo. Raise your hand, Calvin. So we do appreciate all of these cadets. We have our numbers. So right now this year, we're probably at 112, which is a little low for us, but we hope to have a steady state of about 125. ROTC unit in the city of Hampton. So we want to uphold that tradition. I probably taking up too much time, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much for including me.
Thank you.
Big neighbor.
I don't know how I can follow all that, but we really appreciate the staff here at Kickitan. Another person who has helped us tremendously is Miss Catherine Fox. She's over here, and Miss Fox's title, she has a different title. We would recognize it as assistant principal, but her title is Freshman Academy Principal, which I think is a beautiful title and not as scary. But she's been great. Just a couple of notes. The school is undergoing the annual cleaning and preparation for the start of the new year, and so it's going to be somewhat in disarray. So be very careful as you navigate the halls and where we go. Some of you probably remember that from last year. Last time, 5 years ago, we were here about the same time, and that's what happens here. So just, be cognizant of that. We are not going to be able to go in the gym, which is somewhat of a bummer, but that's because a good thing is happening in the gym. The floors are being redone, and so you know what that means. It takes a long time to dry and that kind of thing. But the really wonderful thing about that is that Howie's name is going to be, well, it's there in the center, and it's right now covered up with a tarp, but it's a tribute to Howie, and we love Howie, and Howie is here in the house. The other thing is, when you came into this auditorium, which was refurbished or redone when we were here last time, it had just been completed, as I understand. But something was added since that time, and I don't know if you noticed it, but when you came in, this auditorium was dedicated to one of our classmates, class of 70. That's it. Class of 70, Linda Madsen, who married another classmate, Wayne Shiflett. So when you come in the door, you'll see Linda Madsen Shiflett. And Linda was the superintendent of Hampton City Schools for many years. I don't know how long. I don't know, Paul, do you know how long it was? It was a long time. And so that honor was bestowed on her. So check it out if you get a chance. I wanted to, since we're still in the realm of talking about the Navy Junior ROTC, and we've acknowledged the current cadets and leadership. As I was walking in, I spoke with them and asked them what class they were in and that kind of thing. And some of them are seniors, and I said, well, this is so timely and so good because you're going to be among people who were seniors 50 years ago. So you're going to get to see what your future looks like. So a lot of glamas and grandpas in here. We did have Jim Lindholm, who kind of planted the seed about including this group in our tour back probably a year and a half ago, was going to be here, and Jim was from the inaugural class also in '69, but he has had some health issues and isn't able to be here. But he wrote me a letter, and I want to read it to you about his experiences at that time in that place doing that thing. Just bear with me. iPad. I'm going to read this. It probably won't be as good as if he was, but. Howdy, fellow warriors. I was appointed the first company commander of the Navy Junior ROTC unit in September of 1968. The unit was formed in that month. It was led by Commander Edmund Stronsky, U.S. Navy retired, and CWO John J. Grippe, U.S. Navy retired. These gentlemen took a bunch of young men from mostly civilian Army and Air Force families and taught them leadership, spirit, and ethics. If I remember right, it was sometime in early October of 1968 that our uniforms arrived, and we were finally able to dive into being a Naval ROTC unit. I really did not know I was going to be the company commander until early October. I had been hoping to be the supply officer when appointments came. Needless to say, I was dumbfounded when Commander Stronsky appointed me company commander with the rank of lieutenant commander. Commander Stronsky would teach me leadership through individual conferences when I screwed up, or, imagine that, or in a classroom environment. CWO Grip would tell me details of his World War I experiences. He was actually in the Normandy invasion on a battleship. Life was good back then. The numerous field trips taken to the different naval stations around the area. Watching the submarine races off Fort Monroe. Real subs coming and going. The battleship New Jersey loading supplies in Chesapeake Bay before going to Vietnam. Representing Kecoughtan High School NJROTC unit in the 5th Naval District evaluation of NJROTC units. We placed 3rd, not bad for a first-year unit. The experience of this program in my life helped me understand people and led me to positions of authority as I progressed in my law enforcement career. When you leave Kecoughtan High School and the NJROTC unit, take with you the pride of being a special someone who was taught by special people who want you to succeed. Before I say goodbye, I would like to relate a story that happened to me in my time as a company commander. We had taken several field trips to Norfolk Naval Yards, and during one of the trips, I'm walking ahead of some of the company when 2 old Navy chiefs pop up and salute me. I returned the salute, and as I walked on, I heard one of them say, "That's the youngest friggin' lieutenant commander on the ship." Well, I smiled and kept walking, thinking to myself, Chief, you would have had a heart attack if you knew you just saluted a 17-year-old kid in high school. Jim Lindholm. He goes on to say in the email to me, he said, please tell Commander Wilson that I am sending him the original roster of the company and a couple of other things. He said he hadn't been out to get frames to put them in, but he's going to send them to the school by UPS or at FedEx. So there you go, one person's experience. Let me see. So, warriors, in classes of 68, 69, 70, and maybe 67 and 71. This is our first time doing a combined reunion with class of 70, and I'm really thrilled that we can do that, and I hope that what we've done so far for this reunion has met with your approval, class of 70, and you've been enjoying yourself. Yeah. And let's keep this going. So 50 years ago, we were seniors, or about to be seniors, or had just graduated. And that's a long time ago, and I don't know where that river of time went. It just seems to have flowed on, and here we find ourselves. At the time similar to today, we were young and we were preparing to be launched into the world. I think some of us were somewhat intimidated. We didn't know what our future would hold, but we were ready to go. We were prepared, we thought probably. We thought we knew everything. Little did we know we didn't. We were just on the thresholds of our lives, and we were on shifting sands. So this tour is about walking back in time. That's why I picked that name. Because I want you to feel, just as you walk through the school, and know it's not going to look exactly like it did when we were here. But just let the time melt away, and just take it in and remember every little place we go. Think about what you were doing, how you felt. Remember the times, the good times. Remember the pep rallies, anything you did, the dances, the classroom experiences, the friendships you made, all of that. This is so important. And I think just let yourself be 18 again for just this hour and a half, right? I was going to ask, how many in this room were senior class officers? Just raise your hand. Okay. How many in this room were officers at any time in your class? The senior class officers were too. How many of you were cheerleaders or majorettes? All right. That was important. You were the glamour girls. How many played sports? Awesome. How many played in the band? I know we have some band people. How many got caught skipping school? Come on, press that. All right, this is a big one. You have to be real bold to answer this one, honestly. How many visited the smoking area? Okay, that's just a joke. Yeah, I don't, the smoking area is not there anymore. I don't know when they got rid of the smoking area, but I would venture to say that if you went out there, you could probably find some cigarette butts and, some chewing gum wrappers and that kind of thing. Let me tell you a little bit about how the tour is going to go. We're in the auditorium, of course. When we depart the auditorium, we're going to be escorted by the cadets through the school. We're going to go to the cafeteria. We're going to take a spin around by the gym because, of course, we can pecan, but we can't go to the gym. In the gym, but we don't want to do anything to disrupt the gym being in just apple pie order when the school opens. We'll be going by the office, but don't worry, nobody's going to be sent home or to detention. We have a Hall of Fame there. We're just going to briefly stop there and talk a little bit about our Hall of Fame. And then we're going to make our way through the hallways, and we're going to end up, for those of you who want to stay, and I hope you do, to tour the wing that was built since we left. And I have toured it, and it's very impressive, of the Navy Junior ROTC organization and what they have there. And I'm going to ask them to point out the place on the wall where the letter from President Nixon is, congratulating for establishment of that unit here. So before we depart, there are a couple of things that are still going to happen for your enjoyment and entertainment. And we're going to do them right here in the auditorium. The first thing is we have a classmate who is very talented, and he's class of 70, Jeff Burkhart. Jeff Burkhart has a very stirring and memorable poem that he's going to recite for us. So, Jeff, if you would come, I think you have a couple remarks as well. I'm going to turn this over to him now.
Yeah, Jeff. Jeff, you need to move your mouth closer to the mic.
Me not being heard, unbelievable. It caused me to think about some of the people who aren't here. Kevin Nealon, and Tim Picciotti, and Tiger Lily, and just the people that couldn't be with us today. So we went to school at Kickingham during a wild time. I mean, it was the Woodstock generation of high school students. I mean, the Vietnam War was going on. The civil rights movement was happening and stuff. And so before I came here, I started trying to collect my thoughts, and I wrote this piece. And I'll share it with you now. It's called The Ballad of Howard White, the song of the 60s. Way before Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, or LeBron, before the Showtime Lakers, a young point guard's legend dawned. In the town of Hampton, in Virginia, was a boy who played the game of basketball and brought the people joy. He wasn't tall of stature, but he jumped extremely high. And when he shot, the ball went up, then dropped in from the sky. Where am I? It seemed that when he played, he was surrounded by a light, and watching him was magic, and his name was Howard White. I just entered high school. It was 1968, a psychedelic world at war, chock full of love and hate. The Civil Rights Amendment signed by politicians' pens, but equal rights were slow to come for black folk way back then. The Beatles and the Beach Boys, Otis Redding and the Doors, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and Marvin Gaye filled up the dance room floors. James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Archie Bell sang with the Drells, and music calmed the savage beasts in some hearts where they dwell. It was then announced that Pembroke High and Kickingham would each take half their students, and according to the plan, would put them on school buses and exchange with one another Kickingham's Caucasian kids and Pembroke High's soul brothers. Tensions quickly grew, and then they all came to a head when the speakers in the hall said, "Dr. King is dead." Fights were breaking out, and anger echoed through the halls as white and black pushed one another up against the walls. The football team paired up, one black, one white. We were united to mediate the violence that some students had incited. They say the dawn awaits to calm the darkest angry night. We needed some salvation. Then along came Howard White. Isn't it amazing when the world is out of sorts that people can find solace if they simply turn to sports? When basketball arrived, the whites and blacks, moms, dads, and teachers, and college scouts and coaches would come in and fill the bleachers. Howard White was magic. Howard White was Larry Bird. How he led with every shot and every deed and word. It wasn't long before the people who had come to see started using words like us and also words like we. More than 50 years have passed, and as you might expect, whenever I watch basketball, I pause and I reflect about the way some people's work yield more than perspiration as they reach out and touch us all and give us inspiration. The moral of my story, it is simple and concise. Freedom's cost is high, but it is always worth the price. Howard White taught all of us, no matter what our race, that when we join in common cause, the world's a better place.
Wow. Thank you, Jeff. That was amazing. And I think those words and those sentiments, all of us can relate, and it brings back so many memories. 50 years ago, beyond. Okay, well, before we depart this auditorium, we are now going to have a pep rally. have some beautiful cheerleaders and a majorette, and they're going to join us on the stage. And so let's give them a big round of applause.
Oh no. Oh. Thank heaven. Yes,
All set? You bet. Give me a K.
Hey!
Give me an H.
Hey!
Give me an S.
S!
What do you got?
KHS!
Louder.
KHS!
One more time.
KHS! Look at them.
Roll call. Debbie, 69. Ben, 70.
Debbie, 69.
Karen, 70. Sandra, 67.
Penny, 69.
Andrea started when I got in school. Swami Daniel, Danny, 69.
Okay, this is a favorite of everybody's. When you hear about a cheerleader, this is one of the cheers that you all like. So I better hear you answer, okay? All right, here we go. One, two.
Two!
Photos, skinny dot. One, two.
Photos, skinny dot. Two!
It's really up now. Photos, skinny dot. One, two. Okay, the next two I'm going to do, I'm going to put my paper down, and I think some of us can. We had a big rival in school, and we all know who that was, right? Hampton High School. Well, they had a cheer, and they did it from the time Hampton High School existed, and we changed it to make it much better. So here we go, girls. You can crush crab. You can crush crab. Fight, fight, rip, roar, try, try some more. Red and white will die tonight. You can crush a crab. All right, the next and final thing we'll do for our pep rally is I need all of you to stand for. There you go. We are going to sing with our beautiful singers the fight song. All right, let's go, girls. Hail to the warrior, have one more cheer I'd like to give, and it's to the organizers of this beautiful event. Alex, Theo, all of them say, thank you. And you did a great
Keep it going, man. This was not
Wow, that was great. I feel so energized now. Yeah. One other thing, let's see. Commander Wilson. See. Okay, I neglected to say this earlier, but I wanted to share that our classes will be making a donation on behalf of the classes to the Naval Junior ROTC, and I will be working with Miss Leanne Moore in the office to make that happen. So, I just want to acknowledge how much we appreciate everything all of you have done, and wish all of your cadet students just the best, everything, all the best in the future. Yeah, and both the leadership as well. At this time, we're going to leave the auditorium, so gather your things, and Senior Chief Fields, if you will give us some direction on how you want us to go and where we should warm up.
Before we go, thank you. That was amazing. Really was. There's one thing that dawned on me. And Karen called it out, but what the committee, Bonnie, Allie, George, if you're on that committee, stand up.
Yeah, man.
That they gave. And what we find out in life is time is the most precious commodity there is. And they gave so much of theirs. We got to witness these young people. These young people starting out a life. But we see what discipline, structure, and habit can do to a human being. They may not know, but we know that they will be the future leaders of the world. And my last little act as president from 50 years ago is knowing that this was a special place. And I'm telling you, walking these halls, being at these games, the people, seeing you, remembering my time is astounding. So what I want you to do is give yourself and those young people in that committee, yeah, it's easy, but let's go back to that warrior spirit 50 years ago and let them know what they mean to us. you for always supporting us. Thank you for being there. And I am deeply humbled just to be a part of such an amazing group of people.
All right, you can start.
All right. Okay. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what went on, what this is all about. I was saying that about 6 or 7 years ago, Allie and I came over to the school, and it was my first time and maybe his coming back in all those years. And we were preparing for the 45th reunion. And we were just amazed by what went on when you walk through these halls and you see the classes that started in like the mid to late 70s, all the stuff on the walls from their classes, all sports stuff, all their salutatorians, their valedictorians, everything. Well, we weren't allowed to do that. You know, we didn't have that. So somebody woke up and thought that was a good idea, and I agree. And so we said, okay, we are going to make sure that at least we are going to present the school with pictures, portraits of our salutatorians and our valedictorians. Now, that was a great idea, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there were some hurdles there.
Oh.
First of all, we didn't have pictures,
Oh.
except these Tiani ones like this.
Yeah.
So we had to take these Tiani things over to Harper Photography, this wonderful man, and he actually blew them up for us, and he was worried that they were going to be, that was this set right here. He was worried that they were going to be too grainy, but actually I think they turned out pretty good.
Yes.
And he didn't charge us a penny.
Wow.
Not one penny. But we did have to pay, and there were requirements on how you framed them and formatted them. So we had to go to a couple different vendors to get everything done just so with the information. And we got it together, and then when we did our reunion for the 45th, we presented the school with these pictures, these portraits. Okay, well that was great. The next hurdle was, they never hung them. No. They didn't hang them. And so I was real nervous about that, and every so often I would wake up in the middle of the night and think, where are these pictures? Yeah. And so class of 65 and 66 liked our idea, and they decided to do theirs. And so they did the same thing, 65, you can see the people here. And I think some of you will recognize, that was Greg Bennett's older brother. Yeah, who's no longer with us, Greg's gone. But anyways, so they did their 65 and 66, and the girl called me and she said, that was doing it from the class, she said, you know what, I'm just gonna do 67 too. So we'll have a whole decade. And so that is what you see here. So then, the next thing was, we came in here about 6 weeks ago or so to talk to Ms. Fox and some other people about this tour. And I go, where are the pictures? Where are the portraits? And I was in the office waiting, and I came out and I was on my phone and I was like, and I looked up, and there they were. And it was like a gift from heaven. I mean, I was so, and I knew then, you know, they'd be up for our class tour. I was so happy. And I think it's the best that they're hung here. Yes.
No 70, huh?
Well, we're going to talk about that. Okay, so 70 class has joined us officially, and they want to do the same thing. And so we're going to work with them, with K and BO, and probably John, wherever he is, to get it going for them as well. And they're, let me go back to this. Okay, we have 3 of the 4 attending the reunion. That's Debbie Jernigan Paris, who was a cheerleader as well. We have Laura Alslaven Lawler, who will be here tonight. And David Richardson was in the group before you, and we acknowledged him.
He's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's here.
And the other young man, I don't remember, I don't think he's ever come to a reunion, or if he has, I don't know.
Doug
But
Thomas?
Yeah.
He
I don't know
he
where.
came in '88.
He did. Is he
Not
still with
88.
us, or do you know?
Yeah, '88. No, I don't know. I haven't
It'd be
seen him
good if we
since.
could find him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the class of '70 wants to do it, and we're gonna, do what we can to make that happen. And these are not inexpensive ventures. The funds come out of our class kitty to do this. And so, when you pay a ticket to come, when you are a sponsor, when you do something like that, then that helps us do things like this and put on the reunion that it can be. And their salutatorian and valedictorian, your
Guy is here.
Yeah,
He was our valedictorian.
valedictorian, he is
Larry
here.
Reese, I thought, was valedictorian.
Well, either
Maybe
one,
not, I don't know.
either one,
Maybe it was
whatever,
Larry.
it's either one. Yeah, the other one is deceased.
No, Larry Reese is gone.
Right, Larry Reese is
Steve
deceased.
Dyer
Is
was
with us.
here. He was here last night. I don't know if
Yes.
he's here this morning.
He
He's
was
the
with us.
salutatorian.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So,
I talked
so,
to him about that.
yeah, so that's the plan.
If we wanna
Yeah.
donate, do we contact you and?
No, thank you for that offer, but no, what we're gonna have a recap meeting after this is over, and we're gonna look at where our kitty is,
Okay.
and you know, what things are, and we have someone who also didn't get to sponsor and has offered to sponsor afterwards, so, well, I think we're good.
So go to the website for updates, right? The KHS.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna disappear for a little while after this, so.
Why, buddy?
But but so the website will be updated somewhat, but not 100%, you know.
Allie's done a super job.
The whole committee is just.
The whole committee, and we don't do this ourselves, I
It's
should say.
amazing.
And tonight I'll acknowledge that at the dinner, but
Although
we
y'all
don't.
are the Energizer Bunny.
Exactly, yes.